All right, class. This is Mr. Wharton again. I wasn't here yesterday. Sorry about that. I'm not here today. Sorry about that, and I won't be here tomorrow. Yesterday and today, it's just families got sick, and there's just a lot of stuff going around. Friday, tomorrow, my youngest has got a new doctor. She's got to go see a new therapist, so it's going to take a couple, like 3 to 4 hours, I think, of the appointment. So that's why I can't be here tomorrow. But basically, what we're going to do is kind of go to the next section, 6.04, and we'll end, tomorrow with 6.04. We're going to do half today, half tomorrow, and then we'll catch up with some other stuff for next week. Okay? So, what I want you guys to do is you're going to need your books. Okay? You're going to need your Amplify books. You're going to need to turn to page 927. Okay? It's already down at the bottom of the screen. All right, 927. And then I want you to start the warm-up. Okay, so go ahead and start the warm-up. And then hit pause on the screen so that you can do the warm-up. I'll give you, I don't know, 3 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes maybe to work on get the book, and then work on the warm-up on page 927. Go. Okay, so hopefully you've paused it, and hopefully you've solved all of these. If not, then we're going to talk about it. So strategies are basically how you solve it. Okay, so we're going to minus 6, so it's 6 plus 2a equals 0. We're going to minus 6, right? 2a equals 0, divide a. Oh, I did it wrong. How about that? That's why I shouldn't probably be taking days off. Equals negative 6, equals 0. And then 2a equals negative 6, and then I divide, and I got a equals negative 3. So there's our solution, a equals negative 3. Okay, so my strategy is to subtract and divide. The solution is then negative 3. Number 2, you have 2 strategies you could potentially do. The strategy that most of you probably would do is to distribute here and here. So I got 7c minus 35 equals 0. I'm going to bring over the 35. And I got 7c is equal to 35. I divide by 7, and then c equals 5. Okay, c is equal to 5. For number 3 here, it looks like I'm just going to divide by 7 on both sides. So my answer is just going to be b equals 0, okay, when I divide. Now number 4 is tricky because I don't have any numbers. It's all variables, d and e. You don't know what each of those represent. Okay, so say I took this equation and I solved for d. Okay, so I solved for d first, and then I solved for e. Alright, so let's solve for d and let's solve for e. This means I want my answer to be d equals, and this means I want my answer to be e equals. So what would I do here? I would divide by e to get rid of that, and 0 divided by e is 0. Or I would solve for e and then divide by d, and 0 divided by d is also 0. So this is something that we are leading into today. This is called the zero product property. And if I scroll back up here, you'll see that zero product property or zero product principle is what we're discussing. So this is what we are going to be talking about today and tomorrow. And hopefully we can have a good chance when we start reviewing and stuff like that for next week. Remember, you did have an e-learning assignment that was due on Monday, and you had a Delta Math assignment from yesterday that's due next Monday. Okay, so both of those need to get completed. So if you have time after you finish this, and there should be enough time in class possibly, you should be able to work on those couple things. All right, so here's what I want to talk about. So next page, this is page 928. Okay, you are going to get with a partner, so partner A and partner B. You have to figure out who's going to be A and who's going to be B. Real quick, shouldn't take you that much time. Okay, so hopefully it's the people you're sitting next to, right? If you're not sitting next to somebody, then you can either move to sit next to somebody, or you can just stay where you're at and just work on one of the columns. Okay, so what I want you to do, I'm going to give you 3 minutes. I want you to, if you're column A, if you're person A, you're going to work on these. If you're column B, you're going to work on these. Okay, all I'm doing is I'm going to give you 3 minutes just to solve these 3 questions. Okay, or try to solve those 3 questions. All right, so pause the screen and then work. Go. Okay, so if you were column A, I have my answers up here. If you were column B, I have my answers up here. All right, we should hopefully have these down. Now, you're going to see a lot of different things, a lot of different drawings, but basically, this is what happens. So on first question, I am going to add 3, right, and I get x equals 3. That's pretty easy. Should be easy there. For the first problem on partner B, you subtracted 11 divided by 2, right, and I got x equals negative 11 over 2. That's pretty easy. Shouldn't be any difficult. Second equation in column A, partner A. You just subtracted 11 and you got x equals negative 11. Fantastic. For column B, you are noticing now that you have kind of weird things. All right? What does this mean? It means that I have a variable x, and then I have this other binomial, right, that I have 2x plus 11. So what we can do is we can split them, and I can say x is equal to 0, or the 2x plus 11 is equal to 0. And then I can solve them each out individually. So if I solve x equals 0, I just get x equals 0. I can't do anything else. If I solve the other one, I get 2x plus 11 is equal to 0. Subtract, divide, and I get negative 11 halves. So for the second one here, you get 2 answers. 2 answers. Let's go to the bottom one down here on partner A. If I take the first part, x minus 3, I set that to 0. If I take x plus 11, set that to 0. I get 3 and negative 11 just like I did for the 2 above. If I take my other equation on partner A, or partner B worked, the last one, I can split this up into 2 equations again. 1, 2. Solve them individually, and I got x equals 3 and x equals negative 11 halves. So if you were partner A, I would like for you to make sure you have partner B down. If you were partner B, I want you to have partner A down, like all that work down. I know you didn't have to do it, but at least get it written down so that you could have it for later. Okay? So make sure you have that down. I'll kind of pause here, or they can pause in the class so that you can get time to write it down. Hopefully we have that written down. Now I want you to go to questions 2 and 3. I'm going to give you 2 minutes. Okay, 2 minutes to work on questions 2, questions 3, whether with your partner or by yourself, but answer the questions based on the answers of the equations that you just did in column A and column B. So out of those 6 equations, what do you notice about the solutions? And then number 3 is, how many solutions do you think this equation has? Explain your thinking. Go. Pause it and go. What do you notice about the solutions to the equation? Well, these are just equations. Like the solutions here are just the values of x, right? Values of x that make equation true. Make equation true. Okay? But the first equation here and here, and even this one here, those were all linear. Okay? Those were all linear. Means they only have one solution. But this one, and this one, those are quadratic. Quadratic, remember, is like an x squared term. Squared, so that means I have 2 answers, or 2 solutions. Okay? 2 solutions. Quadratic is 2. Linear is just an x, so that's just 1 solution, because I have x to the 1 up top. Alright? So that's kind of what we're going to notice. So I have 2 solutions in quadratic and 1 solution in linear. For number 3, how many solutions do you think this equation has? Well, if I look at this equation, it looks very similar to this one, or this one, so those quadratics. But I have 1 more x. So what does it mean? That probably means I have 1 more solution. So this probably has 3 solutions. Why? Because I can take this x here, set that equal to this 0. I can take the second parentheses there, which is x plus 3. I can set that equal to 0. And I can take the last one, which is 3x minus 4, and I can set that equal to 0. And then I can solve each of those individually. So this would be 3x equals 4 when I bring over the 4, and I got x equals 4 over 3 when I divide. This one here is just x equals negative 3 when I subtract, and this one here is just x equals 0. So all of these answers are there. Now the importance of these answers is that if I were to take, say, the -3, it's something we got to understand. This is where the zero product principle, zero product property comes into play. Whereas if I take any one of these answers, so for instance, I'm going to take this one here, this x equals -3, and I'm going to plug it into the x in the equation. So if I plug it into the x, I get -3 to the very first one, parentheses, -3 plus 3, parentheses, 3 parentheses -3 plus, minus 4, sorry, minus 4 equals 0. Well, you're like, well, that doesn't make any sense. Like, why do I have all those numbers? But if I look at it, this parentheses here, where I got the -3 from, is going to make 0. So if I have -3 times 0 times whatever this is, right, this something, I'm still going to get 0 because 0 times something, right, is still going to be 0. It doesn't matter what these other somethings are. Okay? So that's where the zero product principle is. Either the -3 could be 0, and I'm multiplying by 0 times something, or I could multiply by -3 times, I don't know, something times this 0. Right? That's where this third number comes from. So it doesn't matter. Zero product property states that if I'm multiplying many different things together, x plus 3, 3x minus 4, then each of those individually have to be 0. All right? So x equals 0, x equals -3, x equals 4/3. That's why we're working on solving two-step equations for the last couple days. Okay? We need to make sure we get the practice of solving those equations so that we could solve these individually. All right, now if I look at this bottom equation, all right, this bottom equation we cannot, so we can't use the method that we just did. Ooh, the method. Why not? Well, in this equation here, right, this was equal to 0, so I was able to split it, right? X equals 0, x plus 3 is equal to 0, 3x minus 4 is equal to 0. This is not a 0. This is 48. So right in here, I cannot use that splitting of it. I can't say x minus 3 is equal to 48, x minus 5 or x plus 5 is equal to 48. I cannot do that because this is not a 0. Remember, the principle, the product, the property, all the stuff we've been talking about is zero product property. Zero product property. Okay? Property means it's always true. Zero product means we have two things multiplied together to equal 0. So, or multiple things multiplied together. Okay? Zero product. So, x plus 3 times x minus 5, if that's equal to 0, then I can solve. Fantastic. But this is not a 0, so I cannot use the product property here, okay, because it's not a 0. So make sure we understand that. If this is not a 0, we cannot solve the way we have been solving. Okay, what I want you guys to do is to go down to page 930. This is the summary page. We're coming to an end of today's lesson. Now we're going to have some problems to do, but for the most part, like, we're not going to have any homework, I don't think. Okay, you'll do have homework from yesterday and the other day, but not from today. So today's lesson, we talked about the zero product principle. Basically states that if I have two or more things, that's 0. So like x times x plus 3 equals 0. This is two or more things. 1, 2. Or if I have more things, so like x times x minus 3, x plus 7 times 2x minus 3. If that's equal to 0, then I have 1, 2, 3, 4 things are equal to 0, multiplied together to give me 0. That means that I can split them up. So the first one, A, so this would be x equals 0, or B equals 0, or x plus 3 equals 0. I could do the same thing here, right? X equals 0, x minus 3 equals 0, x plus 7 equals 0, 2x minus 3 equals 0. Then I can solve. Because anytime something is being multiplied and one of those things are equal to 0, then I'm going to be able to get my 0 at the end. That's where the zero product principle, zero product property comes into play. Okay, we use these interchangeably, principle, property, either way. But it's the zero product property principle. Okay, so this is going to help us when we solve quadratic equations, because that's what we're leading up towards. We want to make sure these are already factored. Okay, we can see that these are already factored. These are in factored form. Remember, if you had a problem that looks like this, so x squared plus 4x plus 3, I would take this, right, I would multiply, and this would be 3 and 4 and 3 and 1, divide by a, and I would get x plus 1, x plus 3. The problems that we've been doing today are already in factored form. Okay, they're already in factored form. You do not have to factor them already. They're already there. So we're skipping a step right now. Eventually, we're going to have problems that look like this, and you need to do all the work. But right now, we're only dealing with ones that are already factored. Okay? So here's what I want you guys to do. Below, where it says reflect, you're going to have 4 problems on the screen. I'm going to put them up here. And I want you to solve them based on what we just did on all of the problems that we've kind of talked about so far today. So problem 1, we got 3x minus 7 times 2x plus 5 equals 0. Solve that one. Question 2, we're going to have r parentheses r minus 7 equals 0. Solve that one. Number 3, we're going to have x minus 10 parentheses 3x minus 11 equals 0. Number 4, we're going to have 3 parentheses x plus 2 parentheses 2x plus 3 equals 0. So solve those 4. I'm going to give you about 3 to 4 minutes, so pause the video and then hit play, please. Okay, so question number 1. Okay, because I have 2 different things being multiplied to give me 0, I can split each of these up. So I get 3x minus 7 equals 0, plus 7, and then I'm going to divide by 3. Okay, so I got x equals 7/3. There is one answer. The second answer, I'm going to take the 2x plus 5 equals 0. Minus 5, 2x equals negative 5. X equals negative 5 over 2 when I divide by 2. For number 2 here, these are both 2 things being multiplied to give me 0, so I'm going to take this first thing and the second thing, split it up. R equals 0. I cannot do anything more than that, so that is my answer. The next one, r minus 7 equals 0. I had r equals positive 7, so both of these are solutions to that problem. Number 3, I'm going to take both of these individually because they set to 0. This is the most important thing to make sure this side is 0. Okay, this side has to be 0. If not, we cannot use this property. So x minus 10 equals 0, so x equals positive 10. 3x minus 11 is equal to 0. Add 11, and then I'm going to divide by 3, right? So I got x equals positive 11 over 3. That is my answer for number 3. Now, this one here says I have multiple things as well being equal to 0. So this, and this, right? So if I take the number 3 equals 0, is that true? Like, I don't have any variables. There's no variables. This is not true, so this cannot happen. So I don't have to worry about this 3 when I'm solving. Okay? So we'll get more practice with that down the road. I take the x plus 2 equals 0, so that's x equals negative 2. I take the 2x plus 3 equals 0, I minus 3, and then I divide by 2, and I got x equals negative 3 over 2. So I have 2 answers here, 2 answers here, 2 answers here, and 2 answers here. Okay, so after we have these done, we're done for today on this particular, or not this section, but we're done with half of this section today. We'll finish up the other half tomorrow. So your books can get put back. You will need to make sure you're working on your Delta Math assignment from yesterday, your review assignment, or your e-learning assignment from Monday, and that was before spring break. Okay, so whatever time is left of class, you have time to work If you are done with all of that, then you can work on your own additional homework for your other classes. But you all should be working. Phones, electronic devices should be put to a minimum. Yes, I understand you will need Delta Math on your computer, but your phones, you do not need them. Okay? So make sure they're put away because that is something that is a distraction.